Happy Tuesday, happy Tuesday. This is the first Tuesday of December, right?
Crap. Yeah.
This is crazy. I put on LinkedIn that this is the final mile of our chapter for 2024. I was kind of like a poet or a rapper or something or other. But anywho, we have Mr. Pierson in the building.
Been a while since I've been here.
Yes. And we pulled out all the caviar and champagne. I almost said whiskey, but the champagne and all that good stuff. But welcome to the Rig on Wheel Show. I am your host, Kameel Gaines. And like I said, we have Pierson here. He is the VP of Recruiting at Mesilla Valley Transportation out there in El Paso. But what we want to do today, we're going to talk about the hot jobs, transportation, news, all type of good stuff. But literally, we more importantly, we're going to talk about some political stuff because you know me, I like to be messy. So I want to talk about the Hunter Biden's pardon. We're going to talk about some freight. We're going to talk about the diesel. What else? Oh, the Tyson layoff that's coming in February because of we have the cattle or beef shortage in the United States. So I want to talk about a few things like that as well. So we're not going to be able to have as many burgers, or I bet you Whataburger is going to have to increase. Whataburger, McDonald's.
Well, I don't know that they get most of their beef from the U.S. though. I believe McDonald's gets the majority of theirs from Argentina. Can't speak to Whataburger here, but it's definitely, beef is definitely impacted globally. I think most of the steaks, it would impact the consumer that buys their beef at the store. You and I are most likely going to get impacted by it when we go to the store to buy beef than somebody at a restaurant per se.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So that sucks. But before we dive in, we do want to let you know we are the first and only truck driver recruitment podcast going on. That is such an honor. Thanks, everybody. But also make sure you follow, subscribe, click the bell if you're doing it on YouTube. If not, still go to YouTube and you're able to listen wherever your favorite for the podcast. So whether it's Amazon, iHeart, all of that good stuff. So let's jump right in. What you want to talk about, diesel or freight?
Let's talk about diesel here. We went up a little bit. We're now at $3.54 per gallon on the diesel. Mm-hmm. That's down considerably, though, when you consider that our peak was on February 19th at $4.10. So, we're still sitting about 57 cents cheaper than we were at that time. It held steady. And holding steady is probably a good thing considering all the world events taking place. The election's now over. There's things that would make the price go up because of uncertainty. Russia is a big oil producer, even though we don't use their oil. Primarily right. Europe had been. You would think that would drive prices up, but on the other hand, people are still somewhat flustered by the economy, which presses down on the price here. So it's holding steady at this moment. Which is a good thing when you consider the months that we're in, the heating oil that's getting used, and all the travel. It was a welcome relief. You talked about it last week for all the people that were driving someplace for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
They weren't having to deal with the typical spike in fuel that they would normally see. So blessing and a curse. It's a barometer for the economy, so you'd like to see it at least hold steady because it's a good sign for the economy. But as an individual, you always want to see it go down.
And it is 55.2 cents cheaper with diesel now than it was this time last year. I always like to give so we can realize it is still less than it was last year, because we always think, oh my God, everything is so bad. It is bad, but it's not as bad as it was last year. And for you gas people, um, because we know that everybody within transportation and logistics is not diesel. So the average for gasoline is 3.03 a gallon, which is almost 20 cents less than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. So you want to go to freight or?
Yeah, let's go to freight right now. If we look at it, available load up 12%, available truck down 6%, dry van ratio up 2%, flatbed and reefer stayed flat. Load to truck ratio, there was an uptick there on dry van 25%, flatbed 15, reefer at 16. Really attractive right now. We're finally sitting over $2 a mile for dry van at 201, 222 for flatbed, 253 for reefer. Those are considerably up versus where they were. Most likely, we're going to ride this out for the remainder of the year, just as we are in the fourth quarter of the year. May fluctuate with flatbed. The biggest thing, the freight appears to be there for the industry over the next 4 to 5 weeks. The hard part when you go into December and January is how you're impacted by weather. So as an example, a lot of people struggled in November that actually did pretty well in October. And if you look at those 2 months, the difference was weather related. October was fairly uneventful, excluding in the state of Florida with the hurricanes. Outside of the state of Florida, October was very non-eventful, like weather-wise. November had a ton of fronts come through, snarling traffic, especially out of the Midwest and Great Lakes states. If you look at the weather radar right now, it's clear across the board. There's some minor storms, but nothing that would cause issues. With that said, though, later in the week, they're projecting some fronts to come through in several locations. We're in that time of year, so you'll see some fluctuation in the spot market related to, more than anything, weather.
Yeah, but that weather is what got us some good stuff coming with the lumber, flatbed, or dry van too, when we talk about Home Depot, Lowe's, and your home improvement stores.
Well, it's one of the things to watch on that, and one of the stories we talked about is tally of U.S. shoppers slipped during Thanksgiving weekend. Figure, which includes in-store and online shoppers, is 1.7% lower than last year's record of 200.4 million people. So it's one of the things to watch here this month. People are definitely price conscious, so there is purchasing taking place, but people are definitely not as aggressively shopping as you would expect for this time of year. So the weather, the shopping, we're in that time of year where if you're a driver, you got to make the next 4 weeks count. As we've been talking about on this show a lot, we expect 2025 to be better than 2024, in particular the back half of the year. But we are still in a shaky economy, to say the least.
Black Friday, let's talk about it. How much shopping did you do, online or in the store?
Not a lick.
I did do some. I purchased 5 pairs of pajama pants and a swaddle sack for my new grandchild. So I spent a total of $32.27 online at Target.
So I still do all of my purchase old school. I go to the store because I want to physically see what I'm purchasing. I don't do the last minute thing. I did that 1 year. I'll never do that again. That's ridiculous. But I do it about 2 weeks out. I literally just try to see where I can have the least amount of people surrounding me.
Oh, yeah. So, no. I mean, all my kids are grown, so they get money anyway. But this was more or less for our pajama pants, for taking pictures and all that good stuff. And Target had a great $5 sale on pajama pants. So there we go. That's it. But you didn't do any shopping.
No. Couldn't have been happier about it.
Okay, so you really did not put any money back in the economy, and you're an American.
Oh, I put money back into the economy, just not on Christmas shopping. When you have 5 boys, I'm constantly putting money back into the economy.
Oh, HEB. Okay.
HEB, yes, HEB. Share the Pierson household budget.
Okay. What you got up next? You want to talk about Tyson?
Yeah, because it kind of goes on that economy side.
Yeah, so Tyson is going to shut down. Okay, so I looked this up on Bloomberg, right? So yesterday, Bloomberg came out with this article, and in the morning, because don't have life. So about 4 in the morning, I saw this article that Tyson is to shut down Kansas plant as the U.S. beef shortage um, erodes profit. Basically, we have a shortage on beef. So in February, by February 14th, uh, Valentine's Day, they are going to be cutting over 800 jobs in Kansas because of this, and they're going to be consolidating operations. And it basically stems from a nationwide beef shortage and declining in profits. So I guess everybody is going vegan in the country. But no, it's a cattle shortage, to be honest with you. So that is what's going on, and it's a strategic restructuring and all of that. And it goes along with the challenging market conditions and all of that. So, and it's a small town, so all of that is challenged. So we know what happens in small towns, that when you have a plant that closes or that many workers from a plant 800 that's close to 1,000, there is a huge economic factors that go into that. It's other small businesses that depend on all the way down to the post office that is going to be affected in that town. So my prayers go out to everyone, because right now they're having to think about the game plan. Not just the folk, but the people within that town, the mayor, or if they have a mayor, whomever governs that town is having to come up with a plan on what to do. So that is very hard to deal with. What were you about to say?
We also got the tariffs. We talked about that a little bit last week.
Yeah.
Here, a lot of businesses are bracing for that. With that said, Trump's relationship with Trudeau has been sketchy up in Canada for the entire time that they've been in the public eye on that end. With that said, I don't know that Trudeau actually wins the upcoming election for Prime Minister out of Canada. Most likely it goes to the Conservatives. If you look at the presidential election here in the U.S., all 50 states moved to the right, including some traditional blue states like Washington. Washington technically moved to the right. Now, Washington's definitely a liberal blue state. It's not becoming Republican, but they're experiencing a similar phenomenon up in Canada. With that said, the opposition to Trudeau seems more than happy to talk to Trump. They're realistic. Their economy is very much tied into the U.S. economy. There's no getting around it. As we talked about before, I think the 25% that was thrown out there was really a starting position. We have major trade imbalances with both of our neighbors to the south and the north. What it ends up being, who knows? We'll have to see how this all plays out here. But our three economies are tied in together extensively, to the point where China's investing heavily in Mexico because they recognize that fact. That'll hopefully get worked out, but we will probably get more clarity come January, because it adds some unease to a lot of business owners at this moment right now, just like it does the general public. We have that going on. Trucking CFOs, leaders eye 2025 recovery with tight budgets. So you're starting to see some of the CFOs of major trucking companies being cautiously optimistic about next year.
Right.
The consensus there was that the second half of 2025 will be pretty nice. The climb out of this is still going to take another 6 months. Seems to be the overwhelming consensus at this moment. We have 3 states that are going to go up in fuel prices as they add that tax. And now that the election is over, California, 2 lawmakers are now bringing up a way of raising further taxes on fuel out in California. So that's one of the things to look at. There's a lot of things that are driving up costs still at this moment, even though inflation has slowed down considerably from 2 years ago. There's still a lot of pressure right now on that taking place at this moment.
Speaking of election or politics, so I've been thinking about this ever since Biden said this on Sunday. But then, I've LinkedIn everywhere on social media, but we know LinkedIn is my very favorite social media. But one of my friends on social media, LaShawn Brown, he did put this up here, and typically we don't always see eye to eye when it comes to politics. But one thing he did say, Democrat or Republican, I'm going to say, pardon my son. And I agree with this. He said, what kind of smoke would he be if he let his son sit in prison? He wouldn't care basically what the public said. And I'm with agreements with that.
I'd pardon 4 out of my 5 sons.
I would pardon my sons too.
Oh yeah, that's the right answer. Yes, yeah, not 4 out of 5.
Yeah,
all
not
5.
4 out of
Yeah,
5. He didn't mean 4 out of 5. He meant all 5. So make sure you say that to your wife. All 5 of his sons would be pardoned. But I'm not. I would to HE double hockey sticks with the public. Biden is not running again. He's 150 years old, and I quote. So yes, pardon his son. He's not about to leave it up to the next administration to figure out what is about to happen to his son. And he feels like, he was roped into all of this stuff, whether or not all of that is true or not. He has the power to do something about it.
I think the bigger challenge with it, and this happens on both sides of the fence. If you watch MSNBC or CNN, they never talked about Hunter Biden. Like, never talked it, didn't exist. When we know there was a story.
Yeah, it definitely was.
It happens on the right, too. Fox News, News Nation, Newsmax, they will aggressively pursue anything that looks bad on the Democrat, but hardly ever talk about anything bad on the Republican side. So the challenge right now, and I think it's a larger question of, I'm not surprised by Biden doing it. If anything, I think it should have been anticipated. The fact that he was able to do it to 2014 is a little weird because it makes it feel like they know exactly when it started. That part's a little weird. I think the bigger issue is from a media standpoint, and it's the hard world we live in right now, is a lot more people get their news from LinkedIn, as an example, Facebook, podcasts. Do you remember the last time you watched 2 hours of a news network undivided outside of an election night?
No. Even on the election night I did, because I watched, I forget his name, but he's the Virgo on CNN and has the map, and he actually does the figures. Yeah.
But most people don't, where 10 years ago it would have been customary to one night a week pop on a network for 2 hours and watch that for your viewing. The challenge right now is that on traditional media, it used to be you'd watch the local news and you'd have some dude at the end of it that would go, here's what grinds my gears, and he'd give some editorial at the end of it. Well, that 2-minute segment that used to be on the local news now is an entire block of news on any network where it's news, but it's really editorial for the entire thing.
Yeah, it's opinions only.
Yeah, it's opinions, and it still masquerades as news. So when you see a Fox News or an MSNBC, they are now at this point a partisan talking piece. It's dishonest presenting it as news because it's not. It's editorial, and everybody's fair to have their opinion. But that's why more and more people, they call this last election the podcast election. And I think that's honestly true. When you consider that before Election Day, Trump's interview that he did with Joe Rogan, it had 50 million views. By far the most watched thing in the last month of the election was the Trump-Joe Rogan debate or conversation for 3 hours. The nice thing there is you get a 3-hour interview, so you can delve into actual topics instead of talking pieces. Because 3 hours, you run out of catchphrases that you're able to say. And I think that's the hard part with that is I don't think Biden, most people understand it and would say, yeah, I do the same thing. And if I'm honest, I do it for all 5 of my boys, not just 4 out of the 5. I'm sorry, Twyla. I think the real issue here is that we are in a changing media landscape. Look at this show as an example right now. There's tons of people right now doing podcasts and conversations that the national media that traditionally dominated this, the newspapers are dying, the TV networks, their ratings are plummeting. And with all the cable cutting that's taken place, a lot more people get more through streaming now. In a given week, I watch more YouTube than I do any traditional TV.
Absolutely.
The only reason I watch TV like last night would have been the Monday Night Football game. That's the only reason. When I'm in a hotel, I never turn on the TV except for a football game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even my 82-year-old mom, like her TV watching is YouTube. I mean, she says I'm watching TV and it's YouTube. That's what she's watching. It's YouTube.
What's nice now, though, is drivers in particular are a good source of information when you want to know what's good out there, because drivers have been, most people think of trucking as being old school and behind the times. The drivers were really leading this about 10 years ago and getting into streaming when you're out on the road, because having that at your fingertips compared to, going into a truck stop and hoping they have on something you want to watch is dramatically different. So most drivers, they found, I think there was a survey done about a year ago, that most truck drivers had at least 5 streaming subscriptions that they were paying for, where traditionally it's about 3.2 for the average American. So drivers are 40% more likely to be streaming content on their mobile device.
Wow, that's something. But I get it, and I understand why, and it makes sense.
Yep. It'd be one of the cool things, though, in the comments sections that I would tell you, if you're out on the road and there's anything you're streaming, be it news, entertainment-wise, anything like that, I'd love to know what you're watching, what you find entertaining.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let us know which streaming platforms that you're on. Yeah,
I'm into Netflix right now.
Yeah, Netflix.
Yeah, now they're adding a lot more live content. Granted, I wasn't watching the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight on there because I think people complained that it was constantly buffering.
Yeah, I heard that.
But I will tell you, they have a lot of these streaming services. Amazon Prime started their connection to the NFL. A lot more of these streaming services are now poaching products that traditionally your cable networks or your network TV would have grabbed. You got WWE going to Netflix now. You have the NFL and NBA getting more in bed with the streaming services versus traditional media. I promise you that 5 to 10 years from now, you and I would not be able to tell what the landscape of television will look like.
No, everything is going to be definitely different. But you know what? That is the reason why every business, including ours, logistics, and more importantly, trucking, I like to bring it down to our niche. We have to meet our clients, which are the drivers, where they are, right? And that is through the platforms of social media.
Yep.
And it's not just one of them. So you have drivers that are on many different platforms, and you hear a lot of different folk, and it could be in recruitment and marketing in different areas, and they don't realize that drivers are on LinkedIn, drivers are on TikTok, you have drivers on Instagram, you have drivers on Facebook, you have drivers on everywhere. And so you need to be on everything or on most places.
Well, it's scary as a driver on your cell phone because you will get ads and you're sitting there going, how do they know? How do they know? Are they listening to my calls? We're still talking about cookies, geofencing, things of that nature right now. So I can tell you, I was with a driver last week and we were both on the same website on our phones, but the ads we were seeing were completely different. I had a little bit of trucking in there, but most of my ads were ironically looking at golf equipment, where his were all, hey, truck driver jobs.
Right.
So somewhere along the line, he had visited a website, that website set up cookies on him, or he had gone to a shipping location where somebody geofenced the area. So as we move more and more into our personal device being our main source to do everything, your advertising will be very eerie and scary because you're looking at stuff that is really catered to you.
That's why we think, oh my goodness, Facebook or whatever it is, platform, they're advertising to us before we even think about it or something like that. Or it's because people like us in this particular group that they grouped us in are more apt to want to look at this or to buy this or, things like that. So that's the reason why they know this advertisement will be more for us.
Now, I can tell you, you and I had a conversation probably about 6 months ago here, and we were talking about different food types. And I brought up that when I've been in Minnesota, I had good Somalian food. I still believe it listens to me because sure enough, I left here and at the airport, I'm looking at my phone and it's telling me the location of 2 Somalian restaurants within Houston. I did no searches. I promised you I was not searching up Somalia. I really believe this thing's listening to us.
Yeah. Or what they feel that we might, or the fact that of what it feels that you might want.
Yep.
Based on the area that you're in.
So when you visit a new person for the first time and they have their cell phone on them, you need to talk about Rig on Wheels and Mesilla Valley Transportation so that we can all of a sudden have a relationship and not even know it.
And something Kayla just said too, Big Brother is watching you because your location settings on.
Hopefully they don't look at my search history too closely.
Yeah, you might go to jail.
Probably.
Yeah. But, all of those different things. But true enough, it is actually here to help. But we are living in the Jetsons times.
Absolutely.
We are the Jetsons. But I'm going to be honest with you, I like it.
I'll say this, though, 50 years ago, they projected we were going to have flying cars by now. I see how bad people drive just 4-wheeled vehicles down the road. I do not trust my fellow motorists on the roadway with flying vehicles.
But in the vehicles are flying, airplanes.
Yeah, but you can't go downstairs and get in your car and start down the road.
I don't, you don't want me.
Oh, you don't want me to either, I promise you.
Yeah, no, you drive too fast. I drive too slow.
I'm worried about time.
But we're going to go to our first commercial and then we're going to do the hot jobs. I was sitting here and I did not hear the hot jobs that Pierson told Kayla. So it is a surprise to me. So I'm pretty excited about this one.
Let's do it.
Hey y'all, I'm glad we back. Let's see what hot jobs Pierson got cooked up here. I think what did you say that you did with your kids with the beep beep and dashes?
Oh, sending them a text message like a telegraph, beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, that's what he did to Kayla. Because I was sitting right here, like I promise you all, and I did not hear anything about the hot job. So that's how he got him over to Kayla. But Kayla, let's definitely go to the first one.
We're going to do Division 440. Exciting opportunities. Currently hiring out of Memphis, Nashville, Houston, the DFW Metroplex, as well as San Antonio. Steady miles, strong length of haul, expanding customer base, and attractive running lanes are just some of the reasons this division continues to grow. You can join MVT as you run through Texas, the Tennessee Valley, and southeastern United States. Really steady paychecks, anywhere between $1,200 to $1,400 a week, weekly home time. Orientation for this division is generally going to be out of Laredo, Texas, or Nashville, Tennessee, depending on where you live. Again, that's Memphis, Nashville, Houston, DFW, and San Antonio. Very attractive running lanes for us. That customer base is expanding rapidly with Lowe's and about 5 or 6 other customers that continue to be adding freight into our network. Had a record-setting month recently in terms of miles on this division as well as an overall company. This division is one of the leading catalysts on that. So if you're looking at that consistency in your paycheck with a great home time so that you can have a life outside the truck and enjoy that paycheck, be sure to check out Division 440 with us. Let's go to Division 210, Caleb. Currently hiring out of Phoenix, Albuquerque, San Antonio, Laredo, and El Paso. Offering the very best of the southwestern U.S. A lot of direct customers, room to grow. This division provides drivers with strong pay and long-term career paths. And what I say by that is right now freight's going well, but we also have plans on expanding out the customer base within this division, which creates a lot of opportunity. Vast majority, about 80% of the freight in this division is drop and hook, allowing you to maximize the most out of your available hours. Again, great home time with weekly home time generally for this division, unless you're Laredo based or San Antonio based, you'll do orientation in Laredo. If you're El Paso or Phoenix based or Albuquerque based, you're generally going to do orientation in El Paso. Laredo and San Antonio would be a Laredo orientation. Again, averaging really good pay, anywhere between $1,200 to $1,400 a week. Opportunities galore on this division, Division 210. And lastly, let's talk about our team opportunities. We have two divisions that we can share with you, and it depends on which one you want to do. The first division is Division 110. That's primarily running east to west, occasionally going up to the northwest about 10% of the time. Currently hiring out of Albuquerque, El Paso, DFW, Nashville, and Memphis for Division 110. And then for Division 330, Kayla, if you can pull that up, we're looking for drivers. We are currently hiring out of Laredo, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth on this division. This one takes us up primarily to the southern Great Lakes states. So a lot of Texas going up to places like southern Illinois, Indianapolis, Nashville, the Ohio area, and then coming back down into the Texas region. Good opportunity for teams in both of those scenarios, and so a lot of opportunity there. So if you're interested in Division 110 or 330 for teams, they average about $3,600 to $4,000 a week. Really good opportunity. Beyond just this, though, if this division or any of these divisions interested you, or you haven't seen a location that you live in that is covered by anything we talked about here today, either MVT has the opportunity or any of the 40 other carriers that work with the Rig on Wheel team have opportunities in your area. So if you call 281-968-3100, that's 281-968-3100, or visit rigonwheels.com. Get with the folks over here at Rig on Wheels. They're going to do their best to find out what your wants are, your needs are, and ultimately how you can make a long-term decision instead of just your next driving job. So be sure to call 281-968-3100 or visit Rig on Wheels today.
And what I was looking down for is because when Pierson was going through all of the jobs and everything, and there was a few words that he said that jogged my memory of, if you all remember last week when I went over the blog that Nimmer wrote about the gratitude in action story about David Perry's story. He is a driver at MVT that she put inside the blog, and it talked about him not having to sacrifice his family time. And he's a veteran driver. He was MVT for about, I think he said 6 or 7 years, but he's been driving for quite a while. And the reason why he decided to drive for MVT is because of the loops or the dedicated lanes, whatever you want to call them. He did not have to sacrifice his time with his family in order to make a good living and to do what he loves. So it's gratitude in action. So when you were talking about the runs, I didn't want to mess up his name, so I had to actually pull up the blog that Nimmer wrote, and she put his story and his testimony in there. So I know quite a few people looking at the blog, I can count the number of times, but read it. And so I just want to invite more people to read it. And we're going to, Darcella is going to put the link of the blog down below in the YouTube description. So more people can go ahead and read it and read the blog, of course, and listen to this testimony, because it was very touching, and it tells a testament of a driver that's been driving for a while and may have been driving at MVT a while, and talks about why he decided to drive and stay at MVT. So if any of these jobs do interest you or not, these jobs are because MVT does have quite a few other jobs. Give us a call at 281-968-3100, 281-968-3100, or go directly to the website at rigonwheels.com, and there is a tab that says driver application. You'll be able to fill it out, and we'll give you a call back within 24 hours. So let's go ahead and go to commercial, and when we come back, I want to go and talk about the driver appreciation quarterly, because I know one just happened. So I want to be able to get a chance to talk about that. So if we can play a commercial about it, that'd be great.
MPG.
We are trying to get a little bit of information for you guys.
Hold on.
So driver appreciation.
So what we want to talk about is the driver appreciation. So Pierson is getting a little bit more information about it now for the person from last week. But what I want to talk about is one thing about MVT that I definitely can say is, like in the Rig on Wheels calendar, the National Driver Appreciation Week for everybody within trucking is going to be in September, right? Well, when it comes to MVT, it's quarterly. You know
No.
No, you still don't
No,
know.
you throw
Okay.
a curveball on me, so I'll know it by next segment.
Okay, but here with the MVT, it's every quarter. So, but at least you can tell them what the person wins and all of that.
Yeah, so with our MPG giveaway here, we have a normal bonus that we do anywhere between 1 to 4 cents a mile based off of what someone's MPG averages are. Essentially, if you average above 9 miles a gallon, which in any given month, about 50% of our fleet's averaging better than that. And so we do anywhere between 1 to 4 cents on top of the pay you're already getting. On top of that, whoever has the best MPG bonus for the quarter ends up getting a brand new car. We've had teams, we've had solo drivers. I can tell you the person that won it last quarter was a guy named David Sandoval. He averaged 11.22 miles per gallon, was not a record for us, but that is a name recently that seems like a newer hire, come to think of it. I do know that name. So if I look at that real quick, Sandoval, that is somebody that was hired November last year. So it was not a driver that was a newer as in this year, but this is somebody that's been with us exactly 1 year. So he averaged 11.22 miles per gallon. Just won it. Been with us for about a year. I can tell you he joined us as we were his first trucking company. So we'll take students, recent grads out of El Paso. I can tell you that we were his first trucking company. So he's been in the industry for about a year.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I remember us talking about him before with something.
Well, that's Roberto Sandoval.
Oh,
okay,
guy.
And in this case, no relation. But he averaged 11.2 miles per gallon, got the brand new car. The person that gets the best MPG, and this is where I get excited about next quarter because we'll do the yearly giveaway. That yearly giveaway, we give out $25,000 to whoever has the best MPGs for the year. So congratulations to Mr. Sandoval. Really cool considering this was his first full active year as a driver. So, there's a lot of conspiracies that, you got to be in the right division for it, or you have to probably be a driver for 20 years.
Right.
It's not. We've had people win it that have been with us for 20 years. We've had people that with it, in this case, have been with us and in the industry for less than a year. It really comes down to driver behavioral patterns. Pre-planning, understanding how to pre-plan your day, understanding not being aggressive on the road, doing defensive driving on the road, limiting the amounts of times you come on and off the road. This particular individual was in a division called 100, so primarily running stuff to the Midwest U.S. and back again into El Paso, but really good driver for us, and excited on that because I knew that name was familiar to me because, he's somebody we hired last year, about the same time last year.
Wow. Okay, so he came in as a new driver?
Yeah, he came in as a student driver or inexperienced driver is what we'd refer to him as. He would have got with one of our mentors. Our mentors would have worked with him. Don't have the name of the mentor here, but most of our mentors are held to very high standards. Would have been actually by himself on the road for all of maybe 6 months.
Wow.
But executing exceptionally well when he's getting 11.22 miles per gallon. No tickets, no accidents, no late deliveries, no late arrivals out of the house. Literally has come in a very short time because of a very reliable driver for us.
Yeah, he's definitely a professional. Okay, so he was extremely intentional.
Oh, yeah. This was not by accident. I will look more onto it to see what he was the previous months before. But when you start getting into that 11, 12 miles per gallon range, you can't do that by luck. Like literally, there is a game plan in place for the month of how am I going to hit this mileage rate. And so that's where between the experience he got from his mentorship, his fleet manager, driver services department physically being available to him, going, hey, let's look at the metrics in the truck and game plan what we're going to do into the future here. We try to do that on generally a 90-day basis with all of our drivers. But as I tell every driver, if you're in the bottom of the pack, it doesn't mean, hey, it's 1 month. You can change things around the very following month. And normally you do it because, A, the MPG bonus by itself makes it worthwhile of doing it. B, it's from a professional standpoint. This would be somebody that definitely wants to do more than what they'd normally, the average would be.
Right. Okay. So where was it? It was in El Paso this time?
This time he lives in El Paso.
Okay.
Last time it was somebody from outside of the area. If you look at our 1,900 drivers, approximately 600 live in the El Paso market. There are about 350 in Dallas, Fort Worth, and then a number of other places in the country. But with us doing 500 cross-border moves a day, Division 100 in particular would do a lot of that freight once it comes into the U.S. border.
Yeah. Because when I was looking at, because I was trying to figure out who it was too, because I was looking at you guys' Facebook, but it didn't show. It did show the stage and all of that, but it didn't show everything because that's around Thanksgiving time.
Yep.
So it was a lot of media about that, talking about that as well. But let's go ahead, go to commercial. What I want us to go ahead and do is put up about Joe. So we can talk about how big the cab is, the inside, the sleeper berth, everything. Because sometimes the drivers might think that it's small. Joe is a pretty tall guy, so you will be able to see that all of the sleeper berths are made for teams, even though most of the drivers are solo drivers. So let's go ahead and go to that commercial, and then we're going to come back, talk about it, and be great.
At Mesilla Valley Transportation, every driver is behind the wheel of a late model International LT, a truck that takes comfort, convenience, and safety to a whole new level. Join us as we explore the impressive features of this powerhouse on wheels. The open road is full of surprises, and sometimes that includes unexpected encounters with wildlife. But worry not, the International LT has you covered. The front end protection guard offers an extra layer of defense, protecting you from animal strikes. Drive with confidence, knowing that you're shielded from the unexpected. We all know how important it is to keep our batteries charged, and our International LTs have your back. The Cummins X15 is equipped with an auto start feature, ensuring that your batteries are automatically recharged when they run low on volts. It's a seamless process that keeps you powered up and ready to hit the road. Disc brakes and an engine brake provide reliable and safe stopping power when you need it most. You can have peace of mind knowing that you're in control. Safety is at the forefront of what we do. Our International LTs are equipped with top-of-the-line safety features to ensure your well-being while out on the road. These tractors are equipped with Bendix fusion protection, collision mitigation, and lane departure warning. Achieving good fuel efficiency deserves recognition. With the International LT, your efforts don't go unnoticed. When you consistently achieve impressive miles per gallon, the International LT rewards you with increased speed. It's a little extra motivation to keep you pushing for better fuel economy. After a long drive, you're ready for a well-deserved break. With the International LT, you can enjoy your rest period in absolute comfort. Thanks to its auxiliary power unit, you can keep the driver's cabin heated or cooled just the way you like it. No matter the weather outside, you'll always find your sweet spot within our International LTs. The International LT understands that comfort extends beyond driving. It's a space where you can truly feel at home. I'm a big guy, and I have room to move around in here. With plenty of room to spare, the International LT accommodates even the tallest drivers. And there's ample storage for all your clothes, cooking essentials, and tools, making life on the road even more convenient. Speaking of cooking, bring along your appliances and don't sacrifice any luxuries thanks to all of our International LTs being equipped with built-in inverters. Dry your hair, make a smoothie, or play a game, all from the comfort of your truck. We take pride in our well-maintained fleet, and if by chance you do come across something wrong on your truck, you're never far from help thanks to our valuable relationship with Penske. With more than 750 brick-and-mortar Penske shops nationwide, their expert team is always ready to assist you. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, they'll get you taken care of and back on the road in no time. And there you have it. Just a few things about this late model International LT that make MBT the place to be.
Thanks for coming back, y'all. I don't know what more we can say about this truck, but what I do know is one of the main issues when it comes to driver retention is equipment. If your equipment stinks, and I don't mean smelly, well, it could be smelly, especially if you're not changing those mattresses. Speaking of that, when you are have a new driver and you're giving them another truck, your truck should not just be maintenance clean. It needs to be clean for a new driver. So let me just say that. I do need to point that out operationally. But literally, drivers quit right after orientation and will not pull a load because of the way the truck looks. And then they will get in the truck if they say, you know what, I need this job. But once they in that truck, they'll pull that first load, deliver it, and bring that truck back because it's doing things it's not supposed to do, and nobody wants to get stranded on the road.
Yeah. And I'll say that's where our relationship with Penske helps. Mm-hmm. Visually, we detail the truck. So when a driver goes into the truck, it is detailed from top to bottom. There is a thorough inspection that takes place, technically from multiple people. We have people that double check everybody's work on the shop level. The other part of that is there's some things that come up with a truck. Any experienced driver would have had it where everything looks good. You get on the road, 100 miles down the road, starts vibrating, starts shaking. Something's wrong with it, or the APU's not working, or the air conditioning breaks. You don't really know that till sometimes, unfortunately, you get on the road. The nice thing with Penske is with their wide network of locations, we can get on our engineered lanes, we can get service quickly. And if it can't be fixed right away, we can get what's called a sub-unit, have a loaner truck, basically, that allows the driver to continue on their way until they get back into the market to retrieve their original truck. That Penske relationship is we start with a good foundation by having a truck, a fantastic engine under the hood, an APU unit that's fully functional, which makes a huge difference in staying warm in this time of year. But we have a relationship with Penske that does a really nice job of taking care of our drivers and making sure that the wheels keep on turning. Because if our drivers are not going down the road, the driver's not making money, we aren't making money.
Yep.
Trust me, and we do pay layover, but we don't want to. If we're paying layover, that's bad for the driver and bad for us.
Yeah.
That is not a win-win situation.
That's not money.
It's not. And so the key thing with Penske is, all right, we have a great truck. We now maintain the great truck. We start the driver with what they need to have. And then, God forbid, when we need plan B or plan C, we have a game plan in place for when that happens.
If your wheels ain't turning, you ain't earning.
Yep.
And I didn't make up that saying, but it's true.
Oh, it is. If the wheels ain't turning, I don't know any way in trucking that you're making money without running some miles.
Right. And when I do see that MVT is pulling a Penske, it makes me feel happy because I know that it's working. Like the system is working, because a truck will break down. That's just the way it works, just like tomorrow will come, prayerfully, then a truck will break down. But you have to have a system in place.
Yep.
That's the thing. Drivers understand trucks break down, but you have to have systems in place. However, their permanent truck needs to look nice, be nice, and you're not just handing them whatever. Because that is the number one issue when it comes to retention. It's not pay, it is equipment right there. Because will risk them their CDL, it will risk them their life, and then their comfortability.
Yep.
Those things, they're the ones that is having to be in that truck 11 hours a day. If they're over the road, they're actually living in that truck. It's just a lot of things where the owner or the recruiter, the broker, the dispatcher, everybody else is able to go home, be in their bed or behind the computer and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely true.
But
Oh, no, I disagree.
look at that. We agree on something.
Kumbaya.
Yeah, we just happy folk. But guys, I cannot feel that this is one of the quickest years, one of the most painful, but one of the quickest years. It went January, February, March, July, December.
Yeah, I want to say that I'm done, want 2024 to get over with, but I kind of don't. This has been a good year for MVP. We've ended up hiring a lot of great drivers that are with us currently. Got our wet into the dedicated business and we've delivered some 3,000 loads on that dedicated account, and we're late on 2 of them.
That's good.
That's fantastic. We have some opportunities in a meeting with that customer on Thursday that we hope to expand that relationship. We have a lot of opportunities presenting themselves for us at this moment. Our trucks are filled with a really professional fleet of drivers. So this was a painful year as an industry. For us, there was a lot of positives that came out of this year that have us very optimistic about 2025 for our drivers, for the company as a whole, and even on the recruiting side between what Rig on Wheels does for us as well as what we do overall as a department on our end. It's not been the worst year. It's not 2008 bad. I wouldn't brag to people about the year, but I think you have to be, Thanksgiving's over, but you have to be somewhat thankful for the positive. I think there's a lot of positives, and we're excited about 2025 for as an industry, but as a company as well.
But when you put it into perspective like that, I'm a Virgo, so I'm typically glass half empty. I'm typically 3/4 empty as a Virgo. But when you said 2008, I'm 3/4 full.
Yeah.
I'm just over here just praising the Lord for everything, because 2008, that was before I was in the industry. I was in another industry. I was in insurance and real estate combined. Yeah. And it was brutal.
This is where drivers who, I tell a lot of the drivers that have been doing this for 20 years, talk to the younger drivers, share your experience, share your perspective on it. A lot of drivers with 20 plus years of experience will tell people if they have less than 2 years of experience. When times are good, save your money.
Yeah.
When times are bad, you've been saving already, it's not going to feel as bad, and it ebbs and flows with that. I'm thankful that our divisions allow us to give drivers a certain level of consistency in their paychecks,
Consistency.
which becomes really important. But I will tell everybody that if you're a newer driver, in your network of influence, you should try to have relationships with 2 or 3 drivers that have been doing this a couple decades. They're invaluable resources, and when you feel like the sky is falling, they're normally going to be the ones to tell you, no, it's just cloudy. Sky's not falling. It's been worse. We got a lot of positives coming out of 2024. It's not what I would have envisioned for the year as an industry, but generally, if we can keep our cool, be professional, really, our drivers here, if you lock down your MPGs, you're always on time and you're reliable. You have a network behind you that will support you in the process of you doing your job. This year, for a lot of our drivers, is going to be viewed as a success.
Yeah, gratitude in action.
Yeah.
That is the theme. That was the theme for the blog. That's the theme for David Perry. And I think that's what we should end the MVT show on. Gratitude in action, because that is what David Perry said about MVT.
I am very grateful.
Yeah. So that is how we're going to end the show, everybody. And we want you to be safe. And we will see you next week, Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So bye-bye.